Well, we're back right here live in the studio for the coverage of the 2013 parliamentary elections right here in our beloved country of Kuwait. And we have with us our first guest live right here in the studio. We have with us Dr. Sulaiman Al-Khodari. And Dr. Sulaiman is the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry at the Kuwait Center for Mental Health. Dr. Sulaiman, welcome to this very special program and special day right here in the state of Kuwait.
Thank you, Tariq. Pleasure being with you.
It's very nice to have you with us. And Dr. Sulaiman, you know, this is a very unique time. It's the first time that parliamentary elections are being held in the holy month of Ramadan. Yes. And it's also, we've been having quite a few election processes the past few years or so. Maybe you could tell us now, how do you see the feeling, the mood of the people, the public, right here in the state of Kuwait? It's also summertime. A lot of people may have traveled, left the country, even though a lot of people do come back also for Ramadan. But give us your general views, please, sir.
So you know, there are a lot of issues at stake here. Number one, it's the second time we go through this experience of like, you know, one man, one vote. You know, and now with a lot of people participating in this election, we still have yet to see, you know, what's going to be the mood of the voters by the end of today's election. But as far as people's motivation to participate, I think one thing that is quite unique about the Kuwaiti people is that despite the fact that they, you know, a lot of them keep complaining about the situation over and over and, you know, expressing their views and disappointments and so on.
Some frustration, a little bit.
Exactly, you know, but the thing is, you know, whenever they have a chance to participate actively and positively, I think they do that right away. And I think the first signs of the day have, you know, come from, you know, the constituencies, you know, where people actually are participating.
Yeah, just before we came on air, Doctor, we were taking a look. You were with us, the 5th constituency.
Yes.
They have a good turnout so far, and it's only 2 hours early in the morning, and we also
it's
took
expected
a look
to be much more, you know, as the time goes. Despite all of these obstacles, Ramadan, the heat, you know, I really think that people realize that they have to take an active role in shaping the country's future. Hopefully, this parliament is gonna, you know, continue its term.
At least hopefully complete the 4 years.
Exactly.
We'd like to see that.
Exactly. So, you know, I think people are casting their ballots with that hope that they're actually doing something that's gonna, you know, shape the politics and the future of the country for the next 4 years. So I think people are actually realizing the importance of participating actively at this time.
Okay. And do you expect, Dr. Sulaiman, from, you know, you're also a columnist, you write in a newspaper, you do a lot of TV interviews, also radio interviews, a very well-known figure right here in the state of Kuwait. How do you expect the voters? Do you think they will come out positively and show a higher percentage than last time, which we had, as you said, the first time that we had one vote for one man or woman? So what are your views on that?
Well, it's definitely going to be higher. You know, you know, a lot of people are watching this closely to see how higher. But, you know, a lot of the people who actually expressed their negative views about the previous election have now come back and decided to participate because they realize that, you know, in Kuwait we have a political game that has to be conducted within certain rules. And you know, you just can't go outside the box and think that you have the necessary tools, you know, to shape the politics from outside. So a lot of people are actually going to participate. We have shown, I mean, we have seen this over the last few weeks with people from different backgrounds showing interest and actually running for election. We have some tribal communities who
and we have some shots on air right there of the various constituencies. Go ahead, Doctor.
Right. So we have some tribal communities who did not participate in the previous election that are now participating heavily, and you we hope that this translates into better choice, for the Kuwaiti people for the next 4 years.
Yeah, we'd like to have all the people that are eligible to vote as much as possible come out and vote and cast their ballot, because your vote does matter, and that's what we want people to express their views on who they see as the best candidate. And Doctor, from your watching the past 4 weeks or so of the various let's say candidates and the process and what they've been doing, how do you see the 5 constituencies and the election process and how it's been going?
Well, each constituency has its own characteristics, and we all know that. Kuwait is composed of, or the Kuwaiti community or society is composed of different, religious denominations and cultural backgrounds and so on. And, we will see this, playing some role. I think that the experience that people have accumulated due to the repeated, elections and the political dialogue that has been going on in the country for the last 2 years, I think it's showing some signs of maturity, with people raising the right questions. It seemed to me at some point that people were just preoccupied with the idea of opposition, just for the sake of opposition at some point.
Yeah, maybe not understanding the process.
Exactly. But it seems like people are now coming back to what I call reality, and realizing the scene, or the political scene in Kuwait, and trying to sort of transform all of this energy that has been accumulating over the last 2 years into something that we can actually feel and realize. And it seems like, as we said, people are raising the right questions about the things that Kuwait actually need at this point.
And what are some of those things in your viewpoints, Dr. Sulaiman, that you feel that our beloved country needs to go forward,
right,
especially from this coming up parliament?
Sure, it's the same questions that we've been hearing, for a long time, and it's the same questions that we hear all the time when we compare ourselves to neighboring countries, just like the countries around us. We see them, getting to advanced levels, with healthcare or trading, commerce, education,
finance.
Finance, like everything, without having a parliament. People are just asking, why are we different? Is it that having a democracy or constitution an obstacle in achieving all of that? And people are realizing that it's not the democracy or the constitution that is in itself the obstacle to achieve all of that, but the way politics is conducted, in this country. So we have seen over the last four weeks that people have been calmer, and just discussing things in a more civil way, in the media and in their campaigns, individually, and we hope that this actually translates into something good for the country by the end of today's election.
I'm sure during this process you've watched some of the various TV interviews with the candidates. I'm sure you also attended some of the diwaniyas, attended some of the, let's say, gatherings at the various tents that the candidates have. Tell us, what's the mood like? What have they been kind of discussing? Share that with some of our audience who may be watching outside the state of Kuwait, who would like to know a little bit about our campaigning process, Dr. Sulaiman, also.
Sure. So Kuwait as a society is, it's a country of the Gulf region, or in the Gulf region. It shares a lot of characteristics with the other neighboring countries, but there are certain characteristics that make this country unique. And one of them is this, social gathering places called Diwaniyah. So Diwaniyas are just like small parliaments where people actually gather on a daily basis sometimes, just to share their views on different things, almost
usually
everything.
The head of the parliament is the head of the Diwaniyah.
Exactly. You know what? And we have opposition, we
Yes.
have people, supporting the government
Sure.
and so on. You see and you hear the different views, and everything is expressed freely and without any limitations, to some extent. So people have been, the Diwaniyas have actually invited, that I go to, have invited some of the candidates, and there has been, this is the good thing, there has been, good questions, and people were,
They're aware of the issues, huh?
exactly, and we're talking about people who are now well educated. Most of the Kuwaiti people are going through, university level or have gone through university level education or higher now. So, they're raising just the right questions, and they're asking the candidates about their programs. People are just not buying into like big words, and big statements without clear agenda on how to transform all of these big words into,
Reality,
operationalized, like programs and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people are much more aware of their choices and where to go and how to conduct all of that and so on.
Also, social media, Doctor, plays, seems like a big role in elections in the state of Kuwait. I know yourself very involved in, I believe, Twitter and so forth. Share with us that viewpoint from how you see things on the
Sure.
social media front, because a lot of the youth, especially youth, more towards Twitter, the Instagram, and so forth. What would you like to elaborate on that, on how that assists a candidate in getting his message across to the public?
Right. So now, as everybody knows, we have 5 constituencies, and each one is large enough for any single candidate to actually reach out to everybody and meet with them individually. In the past, we had 25 constituencies where each one is actually quite small, and you can just cover all the Diwaniyas in that place in 1 month, probably just before the election. So the situation is very different, and people have to be creative in their attempts at reaching out to people and the public. And that we've seen almost like every single candidate actually having a Twitter account, or its campaign at least having a Twitter account, and having individual and direct exchange with everybody about their views and so on. I think this is, from a communication standpoint, this is very essential. You just can't rely on your individual effort at reaching out to people and meeting with them physically. So you have
or the standard print and media, TV, and
exactly.
You have to expand a little bit now.
People cannot wait for the standard, like
Sure.
newspapers, and the news are coming out, by the hour.
Right.
And people are going from one Diwaniyah to the other Diwaniyah. So people, attendees of those two Diwaniyahs are actually sharing their views on that visit immediately. If a candidate makes a horrible mistake, everybody knows about that immediately. If a candidate says something that's very good, everybody would love to actually hear about. So you see it, everywhere. So with the fast pace of today's time, the like politics, everything nowadays, you just can't rely on routine ways of relating to people. So it has been, I think, a fantastic experience. Still, the social media world is something that is yet to be explored in more details and with more experience, because we have seen people getting themselves in trouble over the last few months by using Twitter in a not so good way, expressing their views in a
very negative
way, in a way that is considered probably impolite. And politeness and these sort of like virtues are really considered highly in the Kuwaiti society. We are a traditional society at the end of the day. We're a small society where everybody knows each other. So even if you're running for election and you're presenting yourself as a good candidate and so on, or you're supporting somebody, or you're supporting a standpoint in politics, you just can't take it I don't like to put it this way, but you just can't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
You know, to the point of just like, you know, trying to exclude other or demonize others, you know, in the way that we have seen over the last a few months. So I think that by, you know, as we accumulate more experience, people will, you know how to use this this virtual world more effectively.
Thank you very much for that, and we're going to take a short break right now on this special program about the parliamentary elections, and then we'll be back with our guest to continue the interview. Stay tuned. Well, we're back right here in the studio. Good morning to all our audience watching right here in the state of Kuwait or wherever you may be watching around the world. You're watching the 2013 parliamentary election coverage right here on KTV2, the family channel. And our guest, we're talking to Dr. Sulaiman Al-Khodari about various subjects dealing with the elections. And if we take a look at the various constituencies, we're getting a lot of reports from our team on the ground there that constituency 4 and number 5, and we're taking a look at the 5th constituency. A lot of movement there, a lot of people coming out early. It's about 2.5 hours into the process right now, which started at 8 a.m. People are very motivated to vote, which is, we like to see that. We're very happy and encouraged to see that in the 5th constituency. Things very well organized with the assistance of the various ministries and government agencies right here in the state of Kuwait, working together to make the election process very smooth. There's shots from the 5th constituency. And moving on, we'll take a look. The 4th constituency also, good turnout, good registration. People are coming out to vote. And I also believe the other constituencies, things we're picking up very slowly as we're taking a look at some of the ballot boxes and so forth. And Dr. Sulaiman Al-Khodari, the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry, Kuwait Center for Mental Health. So far, good turnout. You were watching with me there, the 5th and 4th constituency. People coming out to cast their votes for the candidates that best represent them. Tell us a little bit about the organization of, let's say, these elections, and a little bit about the process for our audience watching. We'd like to know about that, please.
Sure. So the election system has actually evolved over the time, or changed over the time from, you know, with regards to the number of constituencies and the number of votes that everybody can actually cast. So we started with 10 constituencies running from the election of 1963 to 1981, when the system changed into 25 constituencies. And then, you know, this was the system until, or the situation until 2006, where we had this new system of 5 constituencies. This has also changed more recently, as everybody knows, into the one-man, one-vote system. From having, you know, just before that, 4 votes in each of the 5 constituencies, and prior to that, the 25 systems, you know, each constituency would elect 2, you know, members of the parliament, representing in total the 50 members, and so on. You know, there were many historical moments that actually helped shaping the political arena or system here in Kuwait. From
if you can recall some of them, I know offhand, if you can, to share with us.
Sure. So as we know that the Kuwaiti society compared to other Gulf countries, has been more advanced politically. And our political system and having a so-called parliament actually goes back to prior to having the constitution in 1961. We're talking about some movements that go back to the 30s of the 20th century, 1930s. And actually prior to that, or right after the death of the Kuwaiti Emir Salim bin Mubarak, at that time we didn't have a crown prince. And the Kuwaiti people actually gathered and they elected who from the Sabah family at that time was to become the next Emir of Kuwait. So we have this legacy and we have this heritage in this country, with the government focusing at sending people abroad to learn outside and get the proper education and come back and help advancing the society. A lot of people in the 30s and 40s came back with experiences that they had from the other Arab countries, and probably also from
and
Europe.
that expanded over the years to after the Arab country to Europe, the United States,
Exactly.
North America.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
the thing has to be said right now, Dr. Sulaiman, that the government here has always been very good with its people in terms of the educational factors.
Absolutely.
I mean, sending them abroad to some of the best
Absolutely.
universities around the world to get some of the best education possible.
Absolutely, and there was, nobody can say anything about any sense of discrimination or anything or any favored, group of the society or anything. The education was open to everybody. Everybody can get a scholarship, go outside, study, and come back to serve, the nation. Now, with the 1940s and 1950s, there was a, as we see now that the Arab Spring,
yeah.
we had a similar set of events that happened at that time in the region and in the Arab world in general. Where there were a lot of instability in the region, a lot of instability in the Arab world, and Arab monarchies at that time. So it was actually the collective effort and brilliant thinking of the Kuwaiti Emir Sheikh Abdullah Salim and the Kuwaiti people at working at finding the proper way to provide the system with stability. And there was no proper way or better way actually other than having a constitutional democracy in the country where everybody knows their role, everybody knows their limitation, and everybody feels that they can participate in shaping the country's future and politics and all of that. So in 1962, we had the Constitution, which proved to be actually quite instrumental at critical points in Kuwait's history. We're talking about right after the independence, with the movement of Abdul Karim Qasim in Iraq, and wanting to invade Kuwait at that time. And it was that feeling of the Kuwaiti people that everybody belongs to one dream, everybody belongs to one project, everybody belongs to the same country, to the same effort, to everything, that helped Sheikh Abdullah Salim present this, unity to the outside world, and show them that the regime is, there is no question about the regime in Kuwait. And this also helped, solving
down
the
the
issue
road
at that
also.
time. Exactly. Also, when we talk about the 1990 event, and the Iraqi invasion, or Saddam Hussein's invasion to Kuwait at that time, everybody knows about the meeting that happened in Jeddah, where the Kuwaiti people met with. It was actually based on the request of some international leaders. They wanted to see what's the position of the Kuwaiti people, and it was, the gathering that we had, or they had at that time in Jeddah in 1990, and enforcing their views about the constitution and about the stability of the Kuwaiti, political system and regime, and the the support that the royal family had at that time, based on the long-standing agreement and the constitution, was, as we said, quite instrumental at presenting the country the right way to the outside world.
And
so
they did a great job. And just, Doctor, we're just taking a look at, again, shots from the 5th constituency. Seems like, Doctor, they are so far early on in the morning the most active.
See, Tariq,
that voter turnout very big there.
We didn't see this in the last election.
Yes.
You know, it was almost empty. So when we see this, this is an encouraging sign. You know, we have an Arabic poem, you know, that, you know, translate into, without hope, you know, life would be quite suffocating. You know, ما أضيق العيش لولا فسحة الأمل. You know, I think people realize this at some level, that, you know, despite whatever that's happening, you know, and we're not, you know, inciting, you know, some false hope. I think that we have problems, we have limitations, we have difficulties.
There's always differences, and people agree,
just like
disagree.
Any other country, just like any other
anywhere
country
around the world.
You know,
correct.
how are we gonna solve it? Are we gonna solve it in the street? You know, by just protests and so on? You know, I don't think this is, you know, gonna change a lot. You know, based on the you know, the heritage, or, you know, of the political system here in Kuwait. I think that we just have to get together and, you know, have our heated dialogues or discussions at the proper places, the parliament, and try to modify the system, you know, hopefully slowly, but in the right direction.
And so far, good signs, as we saw from the 5th constituency, and earlier on, before you came on air with us, also a good turnout in the other 3 or 4. It's still a little slow, but slowly things are moving along. Taking a look at some more footage live. The lines now, you know, lines are starting to build up in the 5th constituency. We're good to see that. And back to some of the questions we had for you, Doctor. You know, the Kuwait Constitution, founded in 1962, have a lot of people lately have been saying that this Constitution needs to be ratified. There needs to be drastic changes to this Constitution, that a lot of our forefathers worked on this to, you know, make it as a, you know, let's say something that can take us into many generations. So what's your views on that, and how there's a lot of people saying that it must be ratified, changed, and so forth?
So in principle, any constitution or any effort by any group of people is subject to revision and review at, you know, different points in time. However, and this is a message that has to be sent to both the Kuwaiti public and the outside world. You know, a lot of people talk about why or when are we going to have an elected you know, government, not just the parliament. And you know what? I think this is going to happen at some point. However, the issue is, it always becomes a question of when, and are we ready? You know, let's admit to some facts. This constitution was written to give certain roles to the royal family and to the public. And, you know, we also have to understand the context, or the cultural context through which this whole thing emerged. You know, we are you know, an evolving tribal community or society, you know, at the end of the day. And, you know, when some people present our problems in a way, you know, as if the problem is just between the government and the people, I think this is not true. We have our divisions and we have our differences, and, you know, we have a lot of cultural stuff that would stand in the way of us making that leap immediately. I think that the system has to evolve slowly and, as we said, in the right direction. And, you know,
and it is, I believe, evolving. I mean, the ballot process has changed. Many things have changed, Doctor.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, now we can have a discussion about the ballot, you know, system, and what's the proper way or the best way for the country, or the best one for the country. And, you know, this is just a civil discussion. You know, we can have it at any time, and quite openly. But you know, we have to admit that we have, you know, when it comes to having, you know, to decide on who's to lead some of the major positions and offices in the country, everybody or most of the people would agree that having a Sabah family, or members of a Sabah family in those,
certain key positions.
Yeah, certain key positions at this point and in the foreseeable future is the safest for the country and provides the most stability.
Yeah, I do have to say on this point that our royal family has done a superb job always in organizing things and helping to move Kuwait forward into a future of prosperity. And Dr. Sulaiman, now this election process, the candidates, do you feel that they've gotten their agendas across? They've gotten their message across? It was a short period. It was just like a quick transition again. It was just, we just had this parliament, was about 5 or 6 months, I believe, and then now this election process. Do you feel that they've managed to get their message or their viewpoints across to the public, the voters?
Well, having information from some of them directly, I can tell you that everybody feels the time was quite tight, and they really didn't. They wanted more time to reach out to more people. I think that it seems.
Who do you think got some of the most advantage of this short time?
Those who were already in the position of, who were, members
already
of the
there
parliament,
before,
who were, known actually. It's always this way. When you have a parliament that is dissolved, those who take advantage in this short period of time of allowed period before the election are those who were in the position of power, who were able to help people and serve people and so on. Those who were not prepared or were going to run for the election at the
at a certain period, they weren't expected this.
Exactly.
So they're scrambling around to get ready. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that unfortunately we have a lot of good new faces that did not have their proper opportunity actually to get their views known and cleared out to the public.
What about women candidates this time, Doctor? It doesn't seem to be as much as before. Am I incorrect in that?
Right, but there is a problem in the way we look at this particular issue, because because of the new experience, relatively new experience, we had the first group of women member of the parliament in year 2009.
Sorry, Doctor, we just at the 4th constituency we have the Minister of Information, Sheikh Sulaiman Sabah there at the 4th constituency. Our Minister of Information very active, going around taking a look at the voting process, how it's going. Earlier on in the morning also at the ministry here, just making sure that things are going smoothly and very well organized. As always, Sheikh Sulaiman always just looking out to make sure things are moving in a very good process. There is the Minister of Information taking a look at the 4th constituency. It's very nice to see, Dr. Sulaiman, that our minister and the various government officials just checking how things are moving along.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? This has been the tradition, in every election. And I think it provides as we said, that feeling of that this election is being washed out or watched by and monitored by like everybody in the country, especially those in those very important offices, and having them checking and making sure that everything is run the right way, provides the people with the feeling that the government wants this election to succeed and wants this election to bring about the right change for the nation.
Inshallah, that's what we hope for. And any quick, before I interrupt you, excuse me about that, about the women and running before we wrap up.
We think, it seems like people focus on women as a subgroup of the community, which is not I think not the right way to look at the issue. Women are just like any other group. Women represent more than half of the voters in Kuwait. Women represent more than half of the national labor force actually in the country. So we're not talking about a minority group. We're just talking about a group that did not have the right opportunity in the past, and got involved eventually or lately. So it seems like people are looking at the issue from the standpoint of, okay, let's look at the women and how they do their part,
how they,
and how
perform
they
and so
perform
forth.
actually in the parliament. And I think women are just like men in that in that aspect.
And as we're coming towards the end of this segment, Doctor, do you have any last words or comments about the parliamentary elections taking place in our beloved country of Kuwait? What would you like to say to the voters out there, or even the audience watching in Kuwait, or even our international audience watching around the world, Doctor?
Well, I think that Kuwaitis continue to send the right message to the outside world. First, that we can solve our problems, we can solve our issues, we can have our heated dialogues and heated discussions, but at the end of the day, we try to solve our issues in a civil way, the way everybody does in the advanced and modern nations, by just going to the ballots and cast their votes. I think the other message is to the Kuwaiti public that despite the frustration or disappointment that anybody has at any level, I think that this is the opportunity that you have to try to help the country. And you can choose either between just doing nothing, which is the most passive and
we
negative,
don't want that at all. We want everyone to vote.
Yeah, and keep complaining. Or you can just try your best at presenting to the nation the person that you think will serve the nation the best for the next 4 years. And I hope that everybody goes to cast their vote with that spirit.
Very well said, and we'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Sulaiman Al-Khodari, Chairman, Department of Psychiatry, Kuwait Center for Mental Health. We appreciate your time joining us this very early morning, and we really thank you for your time and your valuable insight.
Glad being with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And right now we're going to take a short break and then be back with you with some more of our segments on our coverage live of the Kuwait parliamentary elections this year. Stay tuned.